part, targeting attractive market segments and positioning. Now here, target marketing requires the marketers to take three major steps or take into consideration the three major aspects. Identify and profile distinct group of customers who might require separate products of marketing mixes, which we call it as a market segmentation. That is the first and the forward step.
Ma'am, we can't hear you.
Second step is to select one or more market segments to enter into the market. That is market targeting. And the third is to establish and communicate the goods or the services, their distinctive benefits and features in the market. This is known as the market positioning. So, with the help of these three aspects, by understanding the attractive market segments or by identifying the attractive market segments, the companies think of targeting and positioning a particular good or a service. Now, what is the segment synergies? We say segment synergies basically now the firms which decide to serve more than one segment, they need to pay close attention to the synergies between segments with reference to the cost, the performance, and the technology. Now, two or more segmentations might provide opportunities where they can share common distribution channels, manufacturing facilities. So when all of them they are clubbed together, we say some segment synergies. So how can the companies think of achieving the segment synergies? Is through defining the segments to which they are going to offer the product. So first have a look at the levels of market segmentation. Now the first and foremost is the mass segmentations. Now here, mass distribution is taken into consideration. The mass production and the mass promotion is taken into consideration. Now here the seller engages in overall production of the goods or the services. The entire populations becomes the target market for them, irrespective of who is purchasing or not. Now here, those products which can cater to the needs of the customers are taken into account. One product for many buyers is the simple fundamental concept applied here. Now there are many goods or services which altogether the masses use, irrespective of segmenting or local needs. Here, it creates the largest potential market for the manufacturers, a single largest potential for the marketers. It leads to the lowest cost of production. It may lead to low price or high margins. Now mass market gets broken up due to increased number of players in the market. There are more players, that is more number of manufacturers offering the same product with the different brand names. Increased distribution channels, more of the channels entering or penetrating into the markets, reaching the customers. High promotion or high advertising, creating awareness among the masses about the availability of the product. So here, if we consider the goods, okay, which are used in totality by most of the consumers, are taken into account. Like if you take a generic product like a soap or toothpaste, toothbrush, salt, the edible things, edible oils. When we think of mass marketing, we take an overall picture. We are not going into specific things. We are not thinking of customization of the products. Like salt, a common salt, everybody uses. Milk, everybody uses. So here this is mass marketing. Any product category which caters to the basic need of the customers come into this category, where the focus is on this production, mass distribution, and mass promotion. Here, increasing the market share, gaining more profits is the fundamental concept in mass marketing. Here you do not consider much of those customers who are very specific, who are looking for a specific attribute in the goods or the services. So here, when you take into consideration such type of products, even they are cheaper as compared to the niche or the local or the segment marketing. So this is about the mass marketing. The next part is the segment marketing. Now this segment marketing, here the manufacturers, they identify a group within the market with the similar wants, similar purchasing power capacity. Geographically, the location would be similar, the buying attitudes or their buying approach or habits would be similar, that is in the same context. They identify this and then offer the goods or the services. Now, why does this segment marketing, it crops up? This arises because of the company's recognition with reference to buyers having different wants. Now, it believes that it is a step ahead of mass marketing. So here I gave you an example of a toothbrush or a toothpaste. Okay, so segment marketing may just think of offering the products according to the age. If you see, if you have a toothbrush, we have for kids segment different and for adults different. Only two categories, irrespective of increasing the aesthetic value or added features. So here, maybe on the basis of certain attributes, you try to customize the product and offer it to this identifiable customers. Here, it believes in the concept that the customers vary in their purchasing power parity. Everybody looks out for their own preferences, features, characteristics with reference to the purchasing power. Ultimately, affordability is one of the important criteria when the customer thinks of purchasing any of the goods or availing any service. It takes into consideration the price factor also. So here the company thinks of offering the goods or the services on the basis of affordability. with different geographical locations. That is one aspect, and buying attitudes and habits. So here the company believes that the customers have different buying attitudes, or their habits differ, and hence they think of offering different products for the different segments. Here, at the same time, the company is not willing to customize its product to each individual. So it also wants to enjoy the economies of scale, and that's why it does not go into customization. That is individual customer, individual preference. That is not the concept here. So the company tries to isolate some broad segments that make up a individual segment. So we can say that this segment marketing lies somewhere between mass marketing and the individual marketing. Mass caters to the total broader area, while individual marketing is one-to-one basis. So this segment marketing lies in between both of this. The competition is limited to only that particular segment. Suppose a manufacturer is into the clothing segment for kids. So this manufacturer will only face competition from that particular segment, not from the others. So this is one of the benefit where they have few uh, competitors with reference to that particular segment only, and they can think of molding or changing the offering with reference to the competitor in that segment. So this is segment marketing. The next is the niche marketing. Now here, niche is more narrowly defined group. Typically, a small market whose needs are not well served. Now, when you take into consideration mass marketing or segment marketing, there is a possibility that a few of the group of consumers are left out, whose needs are not satisfied or not served by the existing uh, offerings. That's why marketers usually identify niches by dividing a segment into sub segments, or by defining a group seeking a distinctive mix of benefits. Segments are fairly large and they normally attract several competitors, while here niches they are small, they are narrow and attract only few one or two competitors. Here there are no, you do not have much competition as far as this part is considered. Now niche marketers, presumably they understand that their customers need so well that the customer is willing to pay a premium price here for the services rendered, or for the offering they are ready to pay extra additional money. Only the thing is that their needs should get satisfied. Now here their characteristics might include a different set of needs or a distinct needs. Second thing is price is not a question here. They are ready to pay. Third thing is that there are no much competitors. Now here this niche marketing, they will gain the economies of scale or earn revenues and profits through these specializations. They have their own size and profit and growth potential defined. If you see the marketers with some specialized service offerings, now here they should have some extra skills. The skill sets is required to serve in a superior manner. Then only they can attract the customers, those who are left out as compared to the other levels of market segmentation. If the market efficiency increases for them, then only there is a possibility that they become attractive. Then there is only a possibility of attracting the customers here. Like you have a manufacturer coming up with a sports utility vehicle, sports vehicle at the premium end. So here it's a narrow segment. Then the local marketing. Localized marketing mix, it caters to the clear regional differences in customer demographics and psychographics. So here the local preference of the people is considered. The fine tuning of the product assortments are area wise. The promotional campaigns come with the local added flavor or touch, in this case of local marketing. So the manufacturers here take into consideration the marketing programs being tailored to the needs and wants of the local customer groups. Now here those favoring localizing the company's marketing see national advertising as a waste, as it will not address the local needs. Now here, if the company operating on a national level or an international level catering to the localization, then it has to incur extra cost to mold the marketing mix as it enters a particular area or region. If a manufacturer thinks of molding a product, it adds to the extra production cost, increase logistical problems. There is a possibility of brand image getting diluted when you enter that particular area. Above all, what is the need of the customer has to be understood and has to be managed by the company. Now, the localites, when the company is into the national markets and entering a specific region, then molding the products becomes a bit difficult or it adds to the cost. If the product is standardized and promotion mix requires some changes, like you want a different channel of distribution into a particular region, or promotion mix, suppose advertising, you want to change the advertising. Now if you go to south, okay, in India mostly the advertising is in Hindi. If you go to south, the people will not prefer viewing the advertisement in the Hindi language. So here the manufacturer has to take efforts to localize the advertisement in the local language, otherwise it will not reach the masses here. So convincing becomes much more difficult if you don't mold the marketing mix for that particular region or area. Now, this is about the local marketing. The next is individual marketing. Now here the ultimate level of segmentation leads to segments of one. Customized marketing, one-to-one marketing. Now because of the competition nowadays, uh, this concept is gaining impetus in many of the service areas particularly. Mostly in business to business marketing also we see its applicability. It is also called as the mass customization now. It's very much common to B2B marketing. Now, companies try to prepare a certain frame or a strategy to meet to each customer's requirement. Like we have the greeting cards or the vacations or the tour and travel operators, they try to or mold the package. What are your requirements? Okay, let us know from your side. What are your requirements? Then we will offer you. According to your need, we will try to manage the offering. So this is what is the individual marketing. Again here in this case, as it is upon one-to-one basis, the cost on the service offering increases. As individually you are catering to a particular client, you need more workforce, you need close monitoring. Otherwise, there is a possibility that the customer would switch to the competitor. So here it also requires its own strategy formulation of marketing mix. You cannot think of offering the same package to two customers or promoting the product to two customers the same promotional offer. You cannot give them. You will have to think of their needs and then try to fit it into your offering. That is what is individual marketing. So this is about the levels of market segmentation. Now, moving to the next part, patterns of market segmentation. Market segmentation in many ways. Now, one way is to identify preference segments. So the companies need to think about the preference segments. Here, three options are available for the manufacturer or for the companies. One is the homogeneous preference, second is the diffuse preference, and third one is the clustered preferences. Now here I have a figure which shows the preferences. First one, if you see, is homogeneous preferences. It shows the market where all the consumers have roughly same preference. That's why their points, if you see, they are very close to each other. This becomes much more simpler and easier for the manufacturers to convince the customers to design an offering to cater to the needs of these customers. The market shows no natural segments as such. So here, for example, if you consider the ice cream, okay, ice cream buyers, if they are asked that there are two attributes, that is sweetness and creaminess, as far as these two products are considered. So here, now here the prediction would be that existing brands would be similar and cluster around the middle of the scale in both sweetness and creaminess. So both of them, they prefer up to the 50-50% level. That is what it states, the homogeneous preferences. Now we enter the other part, that is the diffuse preferences. It's the extreme of homogeneous. Totally opposite of homogeneous preferences. Consumer preferences may be scattered throughout the space. Now here, if we take an example of this ice cream, okay. So sweetness and creaminess, both they vary. 10%, some of them will say 10% sweetness, the others will say 90%. So here it depends upon the customers. Now, any brand which enters into the market will see to it that it enters the homogeneous preference market, so that the customer dissatisfaction is minimized. Now here the diffuse preferences, the competitor would locate it and it has to give struggle or it has to fight to gain the market share. And the second part, that is diffused preferences. So one cannot think of having a single offering for all the customers in this diffused preferences. While the third one is the clustered preferences. The market might reveal distinct preference clusters. They are called as natural market segments. 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. You may have the different groups. These are called as the different clusters who may be the customers with the same preference, same wants, same liking, same preference. And the firm thinks of offering them as per their need, affordability, and preference. So here now it depends upon the companies where to fit in their offering, whether it should cater to the homogeneous, diffused, or clustered. So it totally depends upon the organization or the company. Now, basis for segmenting consumer markets. Now, we have studied this. Now, we will just brush up with reference to strategic part. How the companies take the strategies into consideration. First one is the geographic segmentation. Now, geographic segmentation is called for dividing the market into different geographical units, such as nations, states, regions, countries, cities, or neighborhoods. The company can operate in one or few geographical areas or operate in all but pay attention to local variations. Now, just now I had given you an example of advertising in the south. So this is with reference, this example is with reference to geographic segmentation. Now, suppose you want the company wants to push up the hot beverages, okay, like tea or coffee. So here, even the natural environment plays a very important role as far as the geographic locations are considered. When you are pushing a product, whether the climate is humid, whether there is much of the snowfall, whether it's sunny. So why one has to think about this when offering a product? Because it is related with the demand creation with reference to that particular region or with reference to that particular area. Suppose if it's very sunny, the people will prefer the cold drinks more as compared to the hot. Suppose it's a hill station, it's not sunny, most of the time it's colder. So people will prefer the hot drinks like tea or coffee there. So here it helps in strategizing in case of pricing, in case of advertising of the offerings. Now, apart from this, in an area, in a region, in a state, in a country where there is diverse demographism, like I mean, demographic features are very much diverse. If there are more variations, then the company has to take this into consideration because their requirements they differ. That is what is geographical segmentation. When you come on next to the demographic segmentation, where the market is divided into groups on the basis of variables like age, family size, family life cycle, gender, income, occupation, education, social class, etc. On this basis, the market is divided. Now, if you consider, for example, the age and the life cycle stage, both together. Now, here consumer wants and their preferences, they change with the age. So one takes into consideration at what appropriate age a person requires a particular offering and the company thinks of offering that product, thinks of creating offerings with reference to the age. If you consider the clothings, they differ on this basis. If you consider the footwears, they differ. If you consider the educational services, they differ. So here, on this basis, they are categorized and offered to the customers. If you consider gender segmentation, it has been into clothing, hairstyling, into fashions, cosmetics, magazines. So on the basis of this also, the companies can think of segmenting the offering. On the basis of income, so here maybe mid segment, the lower segment, the upper segment. On the basis of income and affordability, the companies think of serving the markets, placing the offerings to those customers. Also, according to occupation, education, the social class. The social class has a strong influence on preference. Maybe in case of cars, clothing, home furnishing, leisure activities, travel and tourism, reading habits. All these are highly influenced by the social class. Many companies design products and services for specific social class. By taking into consideration this social class, they think of offering the services or the goods in this category. The next is the psychographic segmentation, which is again divided into groups on the basis of lifestyle, personality, and values. Each and everybody has different lifestyle. Each of them come from the different backgrounds. They have their own personalities. They have their own values. We grow with our own values. We try to imbibe values from our parents, from the schools, from colleges, from educational institutes, from organizations, which help us in building the values, which ultimately reflects your personality and the lifestyle. If you consider the lifestyle, people exhibit many more lifestyles than are suggested. Okay. The goods they consume express their lifestyle. So many a times we say it's a status symbol. It is highly correlated with the lifestyle. The furniture, the cosmetics benefit, all of them always seek opportunities in the lifestyle segmentation. Marketers have also used the personality variables to segment markets. Now they endow their products with brand personalities that correspond to consumer personalities. And that's why we say that companies are spending hugely on the advertising with the help of celebrities, brand endorsements. It reflects the personality. The values now here, many of the marketers they segment by core values, belief systems that underlie consumers' attitude and behaviors. Now, these core values go much deeper than behavior or attitude and determine at a basic level people's choices, their desires over the long term. In behavioral segmentation, buyers are divided into groups on the basis of their knowledge of attitude towards use of or response to a product. Many marketers believe that behavioral variables like occasions, benefits, user status, usage rate, loyalty status, buyer readiness stage, and attitude are best starting points. Okay, for moving ahead with segmentation. So occasions, if you consider the occasions, buyers can be distinguished according to the occasions they develop a need. That is the reason why they buy an offering, buy a good or avail the services. The reason may be different. What at what occasions they purchase. Like if you take an example of traveling, when do people avail more as far as the air travel is considered? Or traveling by railways, travel by uh, their own vehicles. So here, mostly if you take into consideration the traveling, apart from the business class, they go on the businesses, families go on the vacations. So vacation time is when they have the holidays. One can think of increase in demand during these days. For the business class, irrespective of vacations, holidays, they travel for the business purposes. So companies can think up of tying up with the organizations to enhance the businesses, to enhance the offerings. Yes. Occasion segmentation can help firms expand the usage of the offerings. Now here many of them they stress on the occasions. Now if you consider the next part, that is benefits. Buyers can be classified according to benefits they seek. So whether it's a economic benefit the customer is getting, whether it's a medicinal benefit the customer is seeking for, whether it's the cosmetic benefit or it's a taste preference. So here one can take into consideration the aspects of economy, that is affordability comes into picture. Pricing is one of the variable when economy is considered. If the customer seeks the medicinal benefit, then the customer does not care much for the pricing attribute. They seek the medicinal benefit. If the companies think of offering, now today, if you see today, the marketers are using this medicinal benefit. That is how the usage of the product will help the customers in gaining some medical benefit. That is the mantra. Cosmetic benefit, it's related again with the personality traits. Increasing the aesthetic look, aesthetic value of the product and the taste of the product. This basically depends upon the preference of the customers. That's why many of the flanker products taking this benefits criteria into account, many of them they offer such a type of product looking into the aspect of benefit seeking customers, cosmetic value seeking customers. So they target such a type of customers and then offer a good or the services are offered. Now user status. Markets can be segmented into non-users, ex-users, potential users, first-time users, regular users of that particular good or a service. Now here, usually the marketers think of converting the non-users to users by taking efforts, maybe through advertising, through the distribution channels. They are trying to convert the customers and non-users to the potential users group. For the regular users, the companies have the challenge of retaining the customers so that the customers should not switch to the competitors. They come up with different promotional offers every now and then. Now, usage rate is again segmented into light, medium, or heavy product users. Heavy users are often a small percentage of the market, but they only give the large share to the companies, but account for high percentage of total consumption. So marketers usually prefer to attract one heavy user rather than several light users. And they vary their promotional strategies with reference to this usage rate. This again gives rise to the loyal status, that is loyalty status of the customers, which again is divided into hardcore loyals. Now these hardcore loyals, they are the customers who will buy only one brand or prefer. Once they are satisfied, they will not switch their brands. They are hardcore loyals. Split loyals, the customers who toggle between one or two brands. Again, they will come to the original one, but after traveling, after toggling, after again preferring the other one, they will switch to the original one. There are also shifting loyals, those consumers who shift from one brand to the other, from one service provider to the other. They are known as the shifting loyals. And there are switchers. The switchers, they show no loyalty to any brand. Something new comes, they want to adapt. Something new comes, they are moving ahead. So these are also the pioneers. They are trying out with the new products entering into the market. The brand loyal market is the one with high percentage of hardcore brand loyal buyers. So every company tries to take into consideration the hardcore loyal customers. They try to retain them in this competitive market. The buyer readiness stage. A market consists of people in different stages of readiness to buy a product. Many of them are aware about the product, some are unaware of the product, some are just informed, some are interested, while some desire the product and some intend to purchase. So, here, into which category the customers lie, that is very important. Whether they are totally unaware of the product, then they should be made aware. If they have some awareness, they should be informed. If they are informed, the intention is to create their interest and desire to purchase the product, at least to have a look at the product, to visit the service provider so that they can get more information. That is what is the efforts taken by the companies. Now, as far as the attitude is considered, they can be grouped into enthusiastic customers, positive customers, indifferent customers, negative customers, and hostile customers. So, enthusiastic customers will help the company in gaining more customers. Suppose if the customer is satisfied and has a positive approach to a particular product, they will spread through the word of mouth publicity to the family members, to the friends, and move ahead. So, such type of customers are an asset for any organization, for any company, since they are not only loyal but they also help in promotion of the product through positive word of mouth publicity. Now here, if we consider the effective segmentations. That is, it said that for the segmentation to be more effective, it should be measurable. One should be able to measure the segment properly. That is the size, the purchasing power, and the characteristics of segment. It can be measured with the proper marketing mix tools. Substantial. That is, the segments are large and profitable enough to serve. A segment should be the largest possible homogeneous group worth going after with a tailored marketing program. So that means revenue should be created when a company thinks of the offering or the customization of the product to that particular homogeneous group. It should be profitable avenue also. The markets should be accessible. The segments can be effectively reached and served, then only it is possible. Unnecessarily, it should not increase the burden or the cost on the companies. They should be differentiable. The segments are conceptually distinguishable and respond differently to different marketing mix elements and programs. Actionable. The effective programs can be formulated for attracting and serving the segments. Now, once the firm has decided or identified, okay, with its segments, then it has to decide how many and which ones to target. That is exactly into which segment the company would offer the product to the customers. So first part was with reference to segmentation, and the next is with reference to market targeting. So in evaluating different market segments, the firm should look into two factors. One is the overall attractiveness of that particular segment, and second thing is the company's objectives and resources. Whether the company is able to manage different segments at a single time. The firm must ask whether a potential segment has the characteristics that make it generally attractive, such as size, growth, profitability, scale of economies, and low risk. And the second one, it should consider whether investing in the segment makes sense given the firm's objective and considering the resources. Now, the first one is the uh, single segment concentration. While selecting the market segments, there are 5 patterns which the company has to consider. The single segment concentration here, it may select only one segment. Through concentrated marketing, the firm gains strong knowledge of the segment's needs and achieves a strong market presence. So it thinks of catering to only one segment. Like we have the first cry, only kids segment. We do not want to, the company does not want to expand. Okay, whatever are there, they are offering clothing or toys or any other products, maybe only with reference to kids category. That may be a single segment concentration. Or manufacturing of a pistons for a particular machinery. So only that particular machinery and the pistons they match. Only single segment, business to business. Now here, if it captures the segment leadership, the firm can earn higher return on its investment. However, it involves a higher risk than normal. Suppose if the competitor enters into this area, then there is a problem. Or the firm should be that much capable enough to fight with the competitor. And that's why companies we see that they prefer to operate in more than a single segment, so that there is no risk. Selective specialization. Now here a firm selects a number of segments, each objectively attractive and appropriate. They enter into the selective specialization. Now here there may be little or no synergy among the segments, but each segment promises to be a money maker. Now suppose if it's a uh, cloth manufacturer, okay, clothing manufacturer, maybe into kids category, for females, for males, they have their own defined selective specialized markets, and they cater the products accordingly. Or in case of automobiles, lower segment, mid segment, and upper segment. So they have selective specialization with reference to a particular segment. Product specialization. Here the firm specialization making a certain product that it sells to several segments. The product is single, but it caters to the need of many segments. Like you have a books, the common books, which can be read by maybe in spite of age differences or gender differences, anything. People, they purchase the product, they purchase the book, they read. Market specialization. Here the firm concentrates on serving many needs of a particular customer group. The firm gains a strong reputation in serving this customer group and becomes a channel for further products that the customer group could use. That is market specialization. Full market coverage. Here a firm attempts to serve all customer groups with all products they might need. So this is full market coverage. Product P1 for the market M1, product P2 for the market M2, and product P3 for the market M3. So if you consider the biscuits, manufacturer of a biscuits, okay, sweet ones, sugar free, namkeens, they have everything. Sweet, yani cream biscuits. So they want to cover the whole market. They want to tap all the segments here and offer different products. Now, in the next session, we will continue with the next part of market targeting. Today, we will stop here. Any doubts? Now, on the basis of this segmentation, its basis, the companies think of targeting the market. Today, we will stop here.